The whole back of the house is dipping back.
It's bad. It's really bad. This will have to be priority number one, and that could be what derails our budget.
Jonathan Scott has been the face of Property Brothers for years now. He's completely changed the way we see luxury home decor and has remodeled some of the dreamiest houses. But his real life is nothing less of a dream. From having multiple successful reality shows to being worth millions of dollars, his life seems right out of a fairy tale. Jonathan has been a really big name in the fixer-upper industry, and he's done it all from construction to redesign. But the most money he makes comes from his reality show, and that's probably why he lives such a lavish life. So let's get into it and take a peek at the luxurious lifestyle of Jonathan Scott.
I like the detail, I like all the cladding on the walls, I like your color choices, I love the full height glass at the front.
This might be one of the most dramatic transformations we've ever done.
Jonathan Scott's life was not always a bed of roses because his father was an ordinary youth counsellor and his mother worked as a paralegal. His father left a huge career in films to raise his kids on a remote farm near British Columbia. So Jonathan's childhood might not have been lavish, but it surely was very peaceful. When Jonathan and his brother were born as twins, their parents were overjoyed and they raised them with a lot of compassion. But when the twins reached the age of 17, their father asked them to find a job soon because he wanted his sons to be independent. This early step from their father was actually going to profit them a lot in the future. The kids started going through newspapers looking for jobs in the local stores. However, they decided to start a business on their own because jobs didn't seem like their cup of tea. So Jonathan, at the age of 17, teamed up with his brother and started a brand called Jam. They actually made hangers wrapped in nylon clothes that looked really trendy. Their sales were decent as Jonathan and his brother were selling these hangers from door to door. However, their sales instantly took off when a woman bought thousands of hangers from them as she was intending to resell them. Jonathan then closed down this business and heard that the local circus was looking for child clowns for parades. He applied, got training and was even hired. So Jonathan Scott actually became a clown to earn money. He started off with $10 a gig and he became so famous that by the time he left this job, he was earning $100 an hour. While being a clown, Jonathan also got very fascinated with magic. So when most kids are playing with their Nintendos, Jonathan was actually working on perfecting his illusions. By the age of 15, Jonathan was actually creating illusions of really large scale. And soon he got himself into magic school and learned from his mentors. In the upcoming years, Jonathan won many awards for his magic and even became a part of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. But he didn't want to be a starving artist and needed another line of career to manage the flow of income. During their university years, Jonathan purchased a property with his brother. They completely remodeled it, and when they sold it after a year, it ended up getting them profits of over $50,000. Earning such a massive amount by just one project actually made them curious about the fixer-upper industry, and that's how Jonathan got his dream job. He used to buy a house, flip it by making it look really appealing, and then sell it for massive profits. During this time, Jonathan wasn't spending a lot of money on himself, and in fact, he was actually living in the houses he flipped for the most part. But his life completely changed since Property Brothers came along. Property Brothers didn't become the biggest reality show overnight. It all started when some producers heard about Jonathan, who flipped houses and made unbelievable profits. They pitched a show called My Dream House to Jonathan, but they initially couldn't find any channels to air the show. So they finally found a Canadian channel, and the first season of their fixer-upper show aired. The show got really high ratings and its viewership kept increasing with each episode. The mainstream channels took notice and HGTV contacted Jonathan. HGTV earlier refused to air the show, but now they were willing to pay a whole lot of money to them just for being the distributors. It's when Jonathan knew that his show was going to be a huge hit and they're going to be richer than they ever imagined. The brothers also started their own production group, making films, TV and digital content. They even expanded to different countries. And in the meantime, Property Brothers was doing better than ever, with multiple spin-offs and a viewership of over 26 million. They've since expanded to Property Brothers at Home on the Ranch, Property Brothers at Home, Drew's Honeymoon House, and Property Brothers Forever Home. These shows got them a lot of fame and money, and they're one of the biggest celebrities now. Jonathan Drew's net worth is so high that he even surpasses the worth of some A-list celebrities. The fixer-upper icon is worth over $100 million, and his combined net worth with his brother is about $200 million. A lot of their wealth comes from their real estate business that they started almost 2 decades ago. Their business also gets promoted quite often because of their shows, and they get top-tier clients with projects worth millions. Their tons of reality shows also contribute a lot to their net worth. Their production company oversees everything related to their shows, and Jonathan Scott has even started a furniture line for some extra profit. Jonathan also has a massive social media following, and he does brand deals quite often too. And if all this wasn't impressive enough for you, then just know that he's an amazing performer and has continued to perform magic and other musical acts, which also gets him a huge sum. And despite all this net worth, it doesn't seem like Jonathan Scott is gonna stop anytime soon. His fixer-upper business is going really well, and he's getting some pretty good private clients. Jonathan is even planning on hiring more people and expanding, so that's going to profit him a lot in the long run. It won't be long until Jonathan Scott has a net worth more than the biggest stars in Hollywood. But with all this money, what does Jonathan actually do? Is it all locked up in a safe, or does he ever bother to even use any of it? Let's find out. Jonathan Scott purchased his dream house with his partner back in 2020 for about $10 million, but they didn't just want to move into the house. They set a separate budget for all the renovations, and it took several $1 million for the house to finally be ready for them to live. This house is the true definition of elegance and luxury because of its build and interior. Jonathan spent his childhood on a peaceful farm, and he wanted his children to experience the same peace, which is why he went out of his way to buy this house, as it comes with a lush garden area with a lot of greenery. The property features a main home and a guest house. It features about 5 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms that are renovated by the best interior designers. The house features a massive swimming pool, a tennis court, a Victorian guest house, and even a patio for the family to hang out. The living area is made while keeping the Victorian and modern aesthetic in mind with a very monotonous style. The kitchen also looks very regal in all white, and the master bedroom is the best thing you're going to see today. This luxurious house is probably the most expensive purchase of Jonathan Scott to date, but he also has a knack for luxury cars. Jonathan always opted for environment-friendly cars, even if he had to pay extra for them. When Tesla Model X got launched, Jonathan immediately got his hands on it, and the car cost him more than $80,000. He also owns a 2019 Jaguar I-Pace, which is the most gorgeous car you'll see. The Jaguar also cost him close to $90,000, and when Jonathan isn't driving around in his Tesla, he loves to take the Jaguar I-Pace for a spin. Aside from this, Jonathan also owns a 2016 Chrysler 300. He really likes this old school sedan, and he loves its sound system the most. This car was close to $30,000 to $40,000 when Jonathan bought it. He's not very fond of spending massive amounts on random things, which is why despite his high net worth, he drives rather simple cars. Jonathan doesn't spend a lot of money on his clothes either, and lives a very minimalist lifestyle. The same can't be said for his partner, who's fond of designer stuff.